guys can, Martin or Denjin can give a quick intro.
Yeah, sure. So always happy to be here with you guys, and thanks again for organizing. Again, great musical choice. I think I could just hear those, I was about to say Murakami songs. I don't think there's a Murakami song yet, but those Miyazaki song a lot. I'm actually watching a lot of these mangas with in Japan. I think it's the 5th episode we are doing. So you guys really have some special. Super happy to welcome you, Yuka, as well. I think you were part of the listeners in the. I see a lot of what you are doing online with the commissions. Okay, I'm sorry. I think my connection is a little bit patchy. So yeah, feel free to jump in if the connection on my side is. Maybe Yuka, if you want to start by introducing yourself a little bit and tell us, who you are, what you do. I think you are from Kyoto, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, and Yuka, if anytime you want to speak in Japanese, feel free to. Denjin will help us with the translation.
Yeah, I know she might have a hard time hearing because I know Mark. You broke up quite a bit there, so hopefully.
1 2 1 2.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, sorry, I think my sound is a bit off. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. ゆか、聞いたかちょっとわからないけど、自己紹介でも大丈夫でしょうか?
Okay.
Yeah. なんか電波が悪いから。
Yeah, sorry. So my Wi-Fi and connection is a bit patchy. So I just wanted to let you maybe introduce yourself and tell us, where you're from in Japan, your business, before we dive more into the commissions you do for NFT projects.
Great. Yeah, I just interpreted that for her. So. どうですかね。ゆうか、大丈夫ですか？
はい、お願いします。ちょっと英語が早くて。
そうですね。ほぼ同じこと言うと、どうやって始まったとか、最初はご自己紹介でお願いいたします。
はい、わかりました。イラストレーター、アーティストのゆかと申します。私は大阪で生まれ育てました。で、東京に住んだ後に京都がすごい好きだったので、京都に移住しました。で、京都は古いものと新しいものが共存している街で、例えば1000年前の歴史があるお寺とかがあちこちにあったりとか、自然も多かったりとか、素敵なカフェがあったりとか、そういう素敵な雰囲気の街ですね。で、そこの、私は花街って呼ばれる舞妓さんとかが住むエリアに住んでいて、夜は白いお化粧した舞妓さんとかがこうお茶屋さんに行くような、そんな街に住んでて、インスピレーションをそこからもらったりしています。
すごいですね。ありがとうございます。So she's obviously Japanese. She's an artist here in Japan.
I understood a little bit, but I guess Denjin, if you want to to step in and tell us a little bit more.
Yeah, basically. So she's been, working recently with the Azuki and CloneX communities, but she's, a traditional artist. And, like she said before, starting with the CloneX community, she was doing other art on a commission basis and graphic design and things like that. And she was born and raised in Osaka. But after living in Tokyo, she moved over to Kyoto because she just loved the city. And, as a lot of people know, Kyoto is a big mix of like the old and the new. So she really likes that there's, temples and shrines that are there that have been around for thousands of years. And there's a lot of nature, great coffee shops, really great atmosphere. And she lives in an area that's called a Hanamachi. So there's actually multiple Hanamachis within Kyoto, but in Hanamachi is where the geisha or maiko live. So, she'll see a lot of maiko just going about their daily lives every day. And, the culture in Kyoto is really strong there. And at night, you can see them in their white makeup and as they head to like the tea houses and things like that or go shopping and all that. So she really loves the area that she lives in.
Okay, so how long has she been in Kyoto, and like what are some like things she might recommend when we visit Kyoto? Yeah, so tell us more about Kyoto. Like her favorite parts of Kyoto, where does she go to on a weekend, or like what is it like? Because for a lot of us who are haven't been there, we might not know what's the vibes of it like.
Definitely. ビートさんが言ったのは、ゆかさんはどれぐらい京都に住んでいますか？そして、なんかどういうとこが好きですか？なんか気に入りとことか、なんか一番、なんていうおすすめとこ？
京都は多分10年ぐらいは住んでいて、おすすめがすごいたくさんあるんですけど、夏だったら、今ちょっと暑い時期で日本は夏なんですけど、鴨川沿いに、川沿いにレストランが出るんですね。テラスで。で、それが結構風情があってすごい素敵で、一つそれがおすすめなのと、あとは甘いものが好きだったら、抹茶スイーツがすごいおすすめで、ぜひ食べていただきたいです。で、あとは、祇園っていうエリアにある、一世洋食っていうお店があるんですけど、そこがおすすめで、なんかね、面白系のマネキンがあったりとか、あと、なんか食べ物はね、名物のお好み焼きしかないんですけど、柱にね、クローン X 東京のシールと、あずきの公式チームからのいただいたステッカーが貼ってあるので、ちょっと、もし京都行ったらぜひ行かれてみたらいいかなと思いますね。
はい、ありがとうございます。So, she said she's been living in Kyoto for 10 years. And she's got, obviously, throughout that time, a lot of recommendations. So, it's really hot in the summer season. And so there's a place called Norio Yuka, which she recommends. And I'm going to clarify. Yuka-san, Norio Yuka ってどういう店でしたっけ？
普段は、その川沿いにお店があるだけなんですけど、夏はテラスが出て、なんて言うんでしょう、バルコニーでご飯が食べれるんですよ。川沿いの。そうそう、涼しい感じですね、だから。
なるほど。ありがとうございます。
はい。
So, she really prefers Norio Yuka even in the summer because they have a terrace. So it's nice. It's got a nice view that you can overlook, and it's a very like kind of suzushi is like a cool. You can kind of chill out there even if it's hot. And along the Kamogawa River, which I think is where she derives her name from. It's actually a really popular spot along, in Kyoto, and it flows throughout all of Kyoto. And there's a lot of really nice, cool, elegant sort of areas and shops and things like that in that area. And she also really recommends matcha sweets. So throughout like Kyoto, it's known to have like a lot of sweet treats, not only for like gift giving, like omiyage for people who go there and go back for business trips and things like that, but just to visit. There's all kinds of different cafes that serve really good matcha. So if you're a tea lover, it's like heaven. And there's another restaurant in Gion called Isen Yoshoku, and so Yoshoku is kind of like in Japan, it sort of like refers to like Western food. So things like omurice, stuff like that. If you've never had omurice, it's a really popular dish here in Japan, and they kind of call that yoshoku. So, ゆかさん、一銭洋食で何が好きでしょうかね？なんか、
このお店ね、お好み焼きしかご飯ないんですよ。
ご飯ない。
ご飯がね、お好み焼き一品しかなくて、この間、デンジンさん行ったでしょ？
ご飯はただの例えね。なんか洋食の例えが、なんだ、オムライスとかね。だけど、ここは、この店が、お好み焼きってことですね。
そうです、そうです。
はい。お好み焼きでも洋食ですか？
なんかね、不思議なんですけど、洋食ってついてるんですよね。洋食じゃないですよね。
わかりました。ありがとうございます。So, so yeah, omurice is an example of yoshoku, and we were just kind of discussing. So, Isen Yoshoku serves okonomiyaki, which is a popular dish throughout Japan, and there's different styles. There's like Hiroshima style, and there's a Tokyo style, and a Kansai style, and things like that. And it's kind of like if you've never had it, it's kind of like a savory pancake, or it's kind of akin to like pizza, where you can kind of put whatever you want on it or in it. From seafood to like mochi and cheese to whatever. But we're kind of laughing at the name of this restaurant, Isen Yoshoku, because technically okonomiyaki doesn't really fall under the Yoshoku umbrella. So we're not really sure why it's called Yoshoku. But anyway, the Isen Yoshoku in Gion is, famous for okonomiyaki, and she really loves going there for that and for drinks as well. And there's a pillar that's, I believe, in the restaurant or near the restaurant that has a sticker that, Yuka received from CloneX Tokyo and Azuki. So if you go to the restaurant, you'll find stickers for CloneX and Azuki there.
Well, that's really, really cool. And yeah, I've got a friend who just flew back from Kyoto today. Denjin, you know her? Sarah. I'm not sure if you have met Sarah, but yeah, she just flew back, and I think she's getting me a sake and some matcha from Kyoto. So I'm quite excited to receive those.
That's great. I'm trying to think if Yuka's met Sarah as well. I can't remember if she was at the Azuki event. Yuka-san, Sarah-さん、シャイさんって会ったことあるんでしょうか？
サラさんはどんな方ですか？
シャイ、ですね。シャイはね、今、電デク電のコミュニティ、マネジメントとか、コラボレーションマネージャーですけど、シンガポール系の、女の子で、今、京都に住んでるですね。なんか会ったことあるんじゃないですかね。
そう、なんかそんな話をしたんですけど、会えなかったんですよ、この前。
まだ会ってないんだ。
そうなんです。いつかお会いしたいです。
残念ですね。そう、ビートルさんが、なんかお土産もらおうみたいで、酒とか、皿から。だから、すごい楽しみにしてますって。
そうなんですね。いや、なんか嬉しいですね。
はい。So she hasn't actually met with Sarah before, even though I know they've both been at like similar events, and I find it, it's just one of those things where they just haven't had a chance to meet up. But I let her know that, yeah, you're looking forward to getting those omiyage from her. So
yeah, but so I really want to find out about how the Kyoto event went down. But before we go to that, I think I want to ask about more about Yuka and her art. How long has she been doing art? What has she been like before? Was she like working full time? And how is she doing art now? Like, how did she get to the stage of doing art?
Sure. ビートさん来たのは、ゆかさんはどれぐらいアートやっていますか？そして、なんか、なんて言えばいい？今ぐらいはどうやって、なんか今のスタイルとか、今のやってることの、なんだ、バックグラウンドとか、どうやって始まったってことですかね？
そうですね。を始めたのはもうすごい物心ついたちっちゃい時からで、私母子家庭で育ったんですけど、保育園に通っていて、お母さんが働いてる間に。で、その時に、保育園で描いた絵をその先生たちがすごく褒めてくれて喜んでくれたんですよね。で、その経験から、その自分の絵とか作品を誰かが喜んでくれるのが嬉しくって、絵をこう描き始めたような記憶があります。で、小学生の頃は絵画教室に通ってました。学校以外の習い事で通っていて、で、その後中学生とかも漫画家を目指して、それは独学でこう本読んだりとかして学んで、で、その後はデザイン事務所に就職して、働きながらそのフォトショップとかイラストレーターを学んでいました。で、書くことが結構難しくなっちゃった時期もちょっといろいろあったんですけど、でも少しずつその常に自分なりのやり方を模索しながらずっと書き続けてきて、で、その過程でその私の作品を通じてすごい、なんていうんでしょう、このチャンスを与えてくれるようなすごい方々に何度も出会うことができて、で、今の自分があるっていう感じがしてます。その人たちのおかげ、出会いのおかげだっていうふうにいつも思っていますね。
なるほど、ありがとうございます。So, yeah, she grew up in a unfortunately fatherless family. But when even in nursery school, she was drawing, and she immediately took note that like teachers and her obviously her mother were really complimentary and pleased with the drawings that she was creating even at that age. And then from there, she was just really happy to know that like she was able to just please someone and make people happy with her art and her paintings. So eventually she started learning, in a class, how to paint like traditional artwork. And throughout school, she was being inspired by, different kinds of manga and anime and things like that. And she studied on her own as well because she really wanted to become a manga artist. But eventually she started working in a design office and learning how to use more illustration software and doing digital artwork and illustration, so things like Adobe Illustrator and Photoshop. And through her life, there have been a bunch of different kind of situations that have made it hard for her to always be painting and be creative. But over time, she's always continued to paint and finding her own kind of way and style. And in the process, she's been able to work with a lot of different people, which she really appreciates, all the different opportunities she's had. And it helps contribute to her current style and just how she approaches art and who she is today.
So, like, I think what I'm very interested is, like, to become a manga artist. What does it mean to do that? And also, like, how many people actually successfully become manga artists, like, based on your experience? Because what we are seeing is that the people who can draw in Japan, there are a lot of people who can draw. So, like, how does it get to that level to become a manga artist?
ビートルさん来たのは、なんか、ちょっと難しい質問かもしれないんだけど、どうやって、なんか漫画家になりますか？そして、なんか、YUKAにとって、なんか、どれぐらい、なんか、何人が、なんか、なんていう、なんか、サクセスフル、完成な、なんか、漫画家になったって、何人いるんでしょうって。難しい質問だけど。
でもね、そう、漫画家になるのはなんか難しくって、その時は漫画の雑誌に投稿したり、漫画の、なんていうんでしょう、出版社に持ち込んで認めてもらうとか、なんかいろいろな方法があったんですけど、そこに至る前にストーリーを作るのがすごく難しくって諦めちゃったんですよね。なんか絵は描けるけどストーリー難しいとか、なんかどうやって最後終わらせようとか、キャラクターどうしようとか、そういうのが難しいので、そういうのが書き上がってから出版社に持ち込むっていうのが、その当時は皆さんやっておられたのかもしれないですね。合ってますかこれで。お願いします。すいません。
いや、ありがとうございます。So yeah, it's very difficult to become a successful manga artist, obviously. I think answering the question of like how many is a little bit hard to touch on, but like for her, obviously there's a lot of different ways you can become a manga artist. But she had a really hard time creating a story, and multiple characters for manga. So that was where she was a specific pain point for her, that it was like, the story was just this thing that was preventing her to really feel like an accomplished manga artist.
Well, she's still done amazing work. Like, I think the queue for Yuka's commission work is like over a year long, right? So I think she's done amazing. Did I mute everyone somehow?
Yeah, you muted me.
I apologize. Yeah, so just wanted to help me tell Yuka that I think what she's done is amazing, even though she's not a manga artist yet. But I think so many people being able to appreciate her work and her work being exhibited at events, it's actually an honor. And for the other guests who are listening, do check out in our pinned tweets Yuka's Azuki Gallery and Clone Gallery. Honestly, the Azuki Gallery is really, really impressive. I think if you don't like Azuki, just take a walk in the gallery and you might feel differently. So just check out while Denjin helped me to convey that to her.
Definitely. So, ゆかさん、ビートルズさん言ったのは、なんか、漫画家じゃなくても、やはり、ゆかさんのアートを見るとは、みんな絶対光栄ですね。やはり、やはり、なんか、なんだ、1年ぐらい待ってる人も、なんかコミッションを待ってる人が多いし、すごい尊敬してますね。はい。
ありがとうございます。
ありがとうございます。Yeah, so she's really happy to hear that, Beetle, and just she's really thankful. Thank you.
Yeah. So one thing that Martin was very curious about is that he's very intrigued because Yuka is doing this full time, right? And he's like wondering how does it work? Because how do you set a price such that it's enough for you to make a living, get by doing this full time? But at the same time, you don't want to do too many orders because you can be overwhelmed by how many commission works you get. So tell us a bit more about this commission process, how many active commissions you do, and yeah, how many a day, how long do you take to do each one?
Definitely. ゆかさん、ビートル聞いたのは、なんか、今のコミッションは、もちろんいっぱいあるんで、なんか今どうやって、値段を決めると、なんか、どれぐらいやってますか？例えば毎日何枚とか書いてますか？もちろん、多分状況によるんだけど。
そうですね。だいたい3名様ぐらいを同時にやってますね。並行で。っていうのも、一人書いてる間に、他の方、なんでしょう、一人書いて、その人に送って、返事を待ってる間に別の人のを書いたりとか、
なるほど。
そう、どっちも返事来ないときにもう一人書けるとか、なんかそういうので少しでも先に進めるように、だいたい3名様ぐらい同時進行してますね。はい。
なるほど。So, Beetle in particular, she's usually working on about 3 at a time. So she'll start with one, and when she's ready for to hear from the client about whether they, their input on it, she'll start on another piece. So she'll send one off, she'll start on the next one, and then depending on, if the person from her first contact gets back to her or not, that decides on whether she starts working on the third piece or vice versa. And then pricing, I think it's kind of a difficult question. I don't know that she really wants to particularly address that one, but yeah, she's usually working on about 3 at a time.
Okay, that's really cool. So, because one thing we noticed is that she has done a lot of commissions for Clones and Kazuki, right? So the question is a bit like, do NFT projects make your life as an artist different, like compared to before NFTs drawing and then after NFTs? Do you feel like your artwork or your life has changed because of it?
Sure. ゆかさんすみません。ビートル聞いたのは、NFT がなんかどうやってなんか人生変わりましたか？たとえなんかアートを作ってるとしてとか、あれですね、NFT は、どうやって人生変わりました？
そうですね。なんかいろんな要素がミックスされたなと感じてるんですけど、なんか例えば私、日本でずっとイラストレーターをしてたんですけど、日本語しか通じなかったですよ。なんかでも、その NFT を始めたら、もう英語するしかなくなっちゃって、なんか英語頑張ってるうちに、その海外の人からもご依頼をいただけるようになったっていうのは、一気に、なんて言うんでしょう、書ける範囲がすごく広がったというか、それが一つあるっていうのと、あとさっき言ったみたいに私漫画家になりたかったから、今、ファンアートで求められてるアニメタッチみたいなのがすごくなんか合ってるのかなって思うことがもう一つあるのと、あとはなんか私すごく誰かになんていうんですかね、作品を必要とされたりとか、喜んでもらいたいっていう相手があっての作品っていうのがすごく、なんていうんですかね、私のタイプに合ってるので、なんかそういうのがいろいろ組み合わさって、なんかすごく今ご依頼をいただけてて、私もすごく楽しくできてるのかなって思いますね。
はい、ありがとうございます。So, for her in particular, NFTs, she's always wanted to have a bigger audience, and obviously the mangaka was kind of one way of approaching it. But for her, the NFTs really allowed her to kind of expand her world and her reach. And obviously, NFTs were, I don't think she touched on this part in this moment, but basically, having these other communities that she really feels like her style and her work kind of speaks to was great. And obviously, like, she wants to share Japanese culture and her kind of style with the rest of the world. So NFTs really kind of acted as a gateway for that.
So since we are on the topic of styles, we have two questions. The first one is, what is her art style inspired by? And the second one is because she mentioned that this NFT collections kind of inspires her to draw. Besides Clone and Azuki, are there other NFT projects that she feels like inspired to draw?
Definitely. So, ゆかさんは、他の、なんていうんだろう、アーティストとか、ワーク作品かなとか、スタイル、からなんかインスパイレーションとかありますでしょうか？
そうですね。なんか昔からというか、その、浮世絵、北斎とか、歌川国芳とかはすごく好きで、多分影響を受けてるのと、あと漫画家のクランプってわかりますか？なんか4人グループの漫画家がいて。
クランプですか？
そうそう、クランプ。はい。
クランプ。自分としては、わからないんですけど、ちょっと調べてみます。
ありがとうございます。そう、クランプとか、あと、ファイナルファンタジーのアート描いてた天音義高さんとかもすごい大好きで影響を受けてるなと思いますね。
なるほど。あと、他の NFT の、コレクションとか、それからなんかインスピレーションとかもらって、例えばもちろんあずきとクローネックスはあるんですけど、他のコレクションとかあるんでしょうか？
他のコレクション、どうだろう、あんまり、どうだろう、あるのかな、わかんないですね。でも好きだなと思うのは時々あるんですけど、はい。
ありがとうございます。
はい。
So Yuka said, obviously, sure, with her fascination with ukiyo-e and obviously appreciating that style, she really loves hokusai. She's also inspired by a group, I think she said of 4 people who are a manga group called Crump, whom I'm not familiar with. So I'm hoping I can figure that out. I don't think I've heard of them, but they're apparently a group of manga illustrators here in Japan.
Hokusai is the one with Great Wave, right?
Hokusai, yeah, he did the Great Wave and the Fujisan, a lot of very famous, even internationally, artworks, right, in ukiyo-e. And then also Amano Yoshitaka, who is an illustrator for Final Fantasy, and is also actually trying to do his own. He's starting up his own NFT as well. I've seen his work at a lot of different shows recently, and NFT related events here in Japan. It's a little bit of an anecdote, but yeah. And then in terms of NFT collection inspiration, like outside of Azuki and clones, she couldn't name one in particular, but obviously when she sees something she likes, she'll remember it. But she doesn't have a specific collection to call out. But those previous artists are definitely where she pulls a lot of her inspiration from.
Yeah, that's really cool. And I think what's amazing is that, so personally, I find Yuka's artwork like very consistent and it bridges both clones and Azuki. So somehow she's like the bridge between clones and Azuki through her artwork. So I think that's pretty amazing as well. Which brings us to the point, which is one thing I wanted to find out about Yuka is the recent event she organized in Kyoto, right? Because she organized the Azuki Kyoto event. I'd love to find out more from her how the event was like. And Denjin, you also went down to the event yourself, right? So feel free to tell us about how the event was like, and because I'm not sure if you have Azuki or an Elementus, but yeah, just the vibes from it.
Definitely. So I'll add a little supplement to the last thing. So the 4-person manga group is, in Japanese it's krump, which sounds like it could be crump or another word in English, which is clamp. So that's actually what it is. If we were to say it in English, it's clamp, CLAMP. And it looks like 4 women are Mokona, I can't read all the kanji, Igarashi, Ogawa, and Neko. I think there's a Neko in her name. But anyway, it's Clamp. If you look up Clamp, CLAMP, you can find out the mangaka group that Yuka likes. And yeah, in Japanese, it's Krump. So it's hard to kind of tell which one it is with the Japanese pronunciation. And then, yeah, so I was there. I do have like a bunch of Azuki stuff, like Bobu, and I have a couple jackets, and I got to wear my Boba hat and things like that too. So obviously we'll get to that. But yeah, I did get to go to all those events, and Yuka graciously invited me to one of their dinners as well, just because we've interacted a lot, not just in the CloneX community, but also in the Azuki community and out here in Japan. So we've had a lot of chances to just see each other at a bunch of different NFT events and things like that. And I have some of her work too, which makes me really happy. And we've been shown in the same galleries and things like that too now, which is pretty cool. So, yeah, そうですね。ゆかさん、ビートルさんは、やはり、あずきイベントの、なんか雰囲気っていうか、どうでしたか？
そうですね。あずきイベント、レンジさんありがとうございました。来ていただいて。
はい。
日本で3回目のあずきのコミュニティイベントだったんですけど、この会場に来てくれた人はもちろん来れない方、海外の人とか日本の方とかもたくさん応援していただきました。で、すごい嬉しいなと思ってて、感謝の気持ちでいっぱいです。で、前回までは、ゆうあやとさんっていう方が運営中心していただいてて、で、私は展示のみでアーティストとしての参加だったんですけど、今回は会場の下見から一緒に行かせてもらって、あと予算のことも一緒に考えたり、あとはチケット NFT、アーティストとの合作して、どうやって売るかとか、そういうものとか、あとイベントのお土産、グッズとかのデザインとか、そんなのも多くのことにいろいろ関わらせていただきました。で、ちょっとあずきジャパンの創立者の黒さんが、ちょっとお子さんが生まれる日がちょっとかぶってて、ちょっと会場に来れなかったんですけど、でも、ずっと、当日までずっとサポートしてくださってて、すごいありがたかったです。で、ちょっと私、コミッションとイベントの準備が同時で、ちょっと忙しかったんですけど、もう地元の京都でやるっていうことで、もうこんな、ね、いい機会ないっていうことですごく頑張らせていただきました。で、当日はもう100人を超える方が来ていただきまして、で、なんか、いろいろね、あるタイミングでしたけど、小豆に興味持って来てくださる方がこんなにたくさんいるんだなと思って嬉しく思いました。
はい、ありがとうございます。So this was the third Azuki community event here in Japan. And obviously we received a lot of support from everyone who came to the venue and even from those who couldn't come. So we'll touch on that in a little bit. But Yuka's really, really happy and thankful for this event. Until now, a person named Yu Ayato, who some may know, he's also a CloneX holder and I think a Bored Ape holder as well. He's been taking care of managing most of the events that and Yuka was mainly showing up as a participant or having her art exhibited at the events. But this time, for this third event, she was able to be involved in a lot more in terms of planning and setting up the event. So doing things like previewing the venue and figuring out a budget and producing tickets and the NFT that they had. So if people aren't familiar, there was an NFT that Yuka and many other artists in Japan contributed to their own artwork, and that's what went into the NFT ticket design. And then also she was, designing different productions and things for the event. And Kuro, who's a founder of Azuki Japan, he wasn't able to come out to Kyoto because his second child was being born, and it was like right on the date of the event. So unfortunately, he couldn't come out to Kyoto for the event. but he was also supporting, in his capacities online. And Beetle, Kuro as well, because he also helped organize the clone dinners that we were going to in Tokyo when you and I first met.
Yeah, the one that Randy hosted with Kuro, right?
Right, exactly. So, and then so Yuka was really busy with commissions and event preparations at the same time. So she was still working on commissions while she was still trying to prepare for the event. But she was so excited to have, an Azuki event in her hometown of Kyoto. So she put in all of her, basically all the elbow grease and gusto that she could muster and worked really hard to help make it happen. And, on the day of the event, there were more than 100 people that came to, Azuki Kyoto Garden. So she was just super happy to meet all those people. And then she also thanked me real quick that, obviously I was able to come too, but it was a really great group of people. And even I'll say for my part, like I got to meet some people from the Azuki community that I'd never even met in person and was really surprised to meet. A lot of people also online just think I'm Japanese because I happen to be in Japan and I don't put too many pictures up. So it was pretty funny when someone met me for the first time, they were like, "Oh wait, you're not a Japanese guy? What?" So yeah, that was a funny little anecdote.
Yeah, so I pinned up the ticket that finally found it and pinned it up that Yuka and a few artists designed. I think it's pretty amazing. And that brings me to the question, right? Because these tickets are sold, so I'm very curious. Like, how was the event funded? Did Azuki provide any funding? Was it a community funded? Because the ticket it's a ticketed event, and yeah, curious how did it go?
そうですね。ビートさん来たのはこのチケットはもちろんみんなすごいなんていう絶対好きだったしなんだどうやってファンディングをもらったんでしょうか、このイベントのため。たとえなんかほぼ全部コミュニティのお金でやったんですかね。なんかこのチケットのセールスが一番ですよね。
そうですね。今回はこの今ピン貼っていただいた赤い背景のこれチケット NFT なんですけど、
はい、
こちらの売り上げと、あとこれに加えて背景が黒色のスポンサー用の NFT っていうのも販売させていただいて、で、その2つの売り上げで主にさせていただきます。もしかしたらちょっとユウさん持ち出しでちょっと出してもらったのかちょっとわからないんですけど。
はい。
はい。でも2つで、はい、主にさせていただきました。
はい、ありがとうございます。Yeah, so it primarily was funded with this ticket, obviously, and then she imagines that you may have also put in some of his own money. She's not entirely sure. But then there's also an NFT sponsor, I think that was 背景って言いましたよね。
そうです。背景が黒色のがもう一個ありまして、値段がちょっと高めで、はい、販売させていただきました。はい。
So there was like a special basically sponsor NFT that they also prepared for Heike, and that was another portion of the budget that came in to fund the event.
So personally, I found that it was very, very smart and is very, very like ground up community initiated. I love how, because I know the tickets, there were two types, right? There were the entry tickets and there were also the booths that people could buy the booths and display their stuff. So I think in terms of having this event localized to the Japanese team, and like it almost feels like those carnival that pops out at a particular city, right? That everyone around the hood goes to the festival itself. So I really love the localization of the Azuki event itself.
そうですね。ビートさん言ったのはこのなんていうやり方が素晴らしいですね。なんかコミュニティのみんなでお祝いできるし、なんかアーティストたちにもリロードしてるし、ご褒美っていうか違うかな。まあなんかすごい賢いスマートなやり方でこれが素晴らしいですねって言って。
すごいありがたいですね。本当コミュニティみんなで作れたイベントになったなと思いますね。ありがたいです。はい。
はい。Yeah, so she's really happy to hear that, and she think it was great that she was able to do it in this way, and I'm fully in agreement with you as well, Beetle. I think it's a really smart way to do it. It's a great way to help promote and reward the community as well, like the artists that participated in it. And just a great way to, use NFTs as, one of their inherent utilities to help like token gate things and stuff like that. So yeah, definitely a smart way to start getting funds for an event.
So one more thing I like about the event itself is that, how online there can be a lot of toxicity and a lot of like negativity going around, right? And I think the event itself being, well, it came at a time that's very close to the Elementus review, which received some negative comments, right? So, I mean, I would love to hear from Yuka, like what her thoughts on the in real life vibes that you get from the event and like what people don't see. So a lot of people are hearing and seeing stuff online, right? But what is it like in real life that people who don't attend events can't see and feel? So love to hear from yourself too, Denjin.
Cheers, definitely. ビートルさん来たのはゆかさんにとってどういうムードでしたどういうバイブでしたし、あとやっぱりネット上で多分なんかいろんなネガティブコメントとかやはりあるんですけど、なんかインパーソンだとなんかどういう感じでしたか？
そうですね。なんかすごい時期にイベントをすることになってしまったなっていう感じなんですけど、でもなんかそのネット上でこうツイッターとか見てたらネガティブな意見も聞こえてきちゃうんですけど、でも実際にその顔を見て相手の表情を見てこう話せたのはすごい良かったなと思いましたね、イベントでお会いして。で、なんか例えばその会話中にネガティブな意見が出たとしても、こう対面で喋ることによってなんかお互いの顔を見ながら自然とこう穏やかな話ができるようになっていたし、だからこの時期だからこそこう直接顔を見てお話できる機会があって、個人的にはちょっと嬉しかったなと思いますね。
はい、ありがとうございます。So, yeah, obviously, as we know, like there's a Las Vegas event that was happening around the same time, and the like you mentioned, Beetle, there's different comments and things online about the elementals and that whole launch and everything, and so. In Yuka's opinion, while you can hear, some negative comments on the internet, it was great to actually talk face to face and meet in person. Even though there's like negative stuff out there, when you're in person, you're generally seeing everyone's expressions and you're conversing a lot more naturally. It's a lot less toxic and just much more peaceful atmosphere and environment. And it was also a great opportunity for her to have a chance to talk with people in person that for her, it felt like the right time to do as well. And she really loves the Azuki community and she wants to continue to participate and move forward with that community. So, despite the kind of things that we're hearing online, she's here to build and create and continue celebrating, both the Azuki and clone communities.
How about yourself, Denjin? Your experience over there?
Yeah, no, I had a really great time myself as well. Like Yuka says, I think a lot of these in-person meetings is a lot more preferable. I mean, I don't, obviously people can still vent any frustrations and things like that, but people are a lot more down to earth. I think on the net, there's definitely a trend for people to be way more toxic and use anonymity to their full advantage and stuff. So it's good when you're actually in front of people and generally I feel like when you're at these events, you're meeting people that are the real people that are part of the communities and really want to be there and just hanging out and contributing with other people in the community. So yeah, I think it was a great vibe. It was a really good event. And like I said, I was really also happy to meet people that I haven't met in person before either, but have interacted with positively online. And it was a really awesome event. I was super happy to go.
Thank you for sharing. So I'm going to take a break from Azuki and bring the topic back to clones for a while. So, I mean, Yuka has drawn not just clones, Azuki, right? She's also drawn quite a lot of clones, including Benito's clones. So I wanted to ask her, how did she get started drawing on clones? And, what's her favorite clone that she's drawn so far? I mean, she's also drawn Regis one, which I pinned up. So, yeah, tell us more about her clone artwork.
Sure. そうですね。ビートさん聞いたのはやはり、もちろんユカさんのなんか小豆アートもみんな大人気だけど、もちろんクローンのアートワークスも作品も作ってるんで、なんかどうやって始まったんですか？どうやってなんかビートルさん、ビートルじゃなくて、ベニートさんあったし、なんかどうやって始まったんでしょうか？
そうですね。ベニートさんは、今から多分1年半ぐらい前に、なんか私がまだこんなにファンアート描く前に、オリジナルの作品の NFT を出していた時期があって、それをどうやって売っていこうかなってこう模索していた時期があったんですけど、その時にちょうどベニートさんがそのいろんな日本人のアートに注目し始めてくださった時期があったんですね。で、その時に結構日本人のアートもいろいろ買ってくださってて、それをこう見たこの大勢の日本のアーティストたちがこう喜んで、そのベニートさんの PFP のファンアートをめっちゃ描くっていう流行が始まって起きたんですね、なんか。で、その頃に、私もその日本ですごい有名なコレクターでインフルエンサーとかでもあるそのクローンホルダーの電力マンさんっていう方がいらっしゃるんですけど、その電力マンさんにマーケティングのサポートをしていただいてたんですね、私が、アーティストの私が。そう。で、その電力マンさんにすごい勧められて、弁当さんの書いた方がいいよって言われて、パートを書いたところ、そのベニートさんが作品を見てくださってっていうところで初めて知り合いました。で、その後に、直接、ベニートさんからファウンダーのインタビューの表紙を書いてくださいっていうふうに依頼をしていただいて、で、その作品をきっかけにクローンのオルダの方とこう、なんていうんでしょう、知っていただく機会になりましたね。
はい、ありがとうございます。あと、そのインタビューのなんだカバーのイラストは、どれの雑誌でしょうっけ？なんか、フォーチュンとかどれだったっけ？
ハイソノバイティ。
ハイスノバイティですね。
はい。
Yeah, so I pinned it up. I think the article that she's referring to is the highest nobility article, and
thank you.
so it's right here on top. And she drew the three art founders, I think. Yeah, but Denjin, please translate the rest.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify which a news outlet it was for, because I thought maybe it was like Fortune or something like that, because I remember seeing it, but I couldn't remember which news outlet had put that out. So I don't think it's there it goes. Yeah, I can't see the picture, but if you click on the tweet, you can see the cover that YUKA drew. So yeah, let's start from the beginning there. So she said about a year and a half ago, when she was trying to figure out how to sell her original NFT artwork, Benoit started playing, which is Benito, aka also Bento-san. If no one's familiar, he's also called Bento-san here in Japan, particularly on Twitter, because his name is just really close to like bento, which is like a box, sort of like a boxed lunch in Japan here. Anyway, so Benito started paying attention to like a bunch of different Japanese artworks and artists, and retweeting them, and replying and things like that. And obviously, a lot of Japanese artists were super happy by that, and it was kind of it became a bit of a trend at the time for artists in Japan to start drawing fan art of Benito's clone PFP. And so around then, YUKA was getting support for her art through Zenryoku, which is he's another well-known Japanese collector. He's also a clone holder. I've actually met him personally at a bunch of different events. I met him again in, obviously at our clone events, but also in IVS, which was just a couple weeks ago, and Osaka and Kore, which is like a big NFT artist sort of. It's sort of like Comic-Con or Design Festa, where artists can go and sell their artwork, and a lot of NFT artists showed up as well. So, anyways, Zenryoku, he's really big in the Japanese community over here. Kind of an early collector and influencer and things like that. And so through Zenryoku's help and, him reaching out to YUKA, she started to paint some fan art for Benito. And then, obviously Benito saw it and really enjoyed it. And then further on, she Yuka was asked by Benito to create that cover that we were just talking about for this interview article of the Artifact founders. And, through that, she was able to get a huge following from the CloneX community. Vito, you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. So besides Benito, she did a few others, right? Like Regis. Regis is one of another Singapore clone holder, and he's one of the few who got Yuka to draw his clone, right? Regis. And so if you guys want to own a piece of Yuka's artwork, there will be one coming up soon. So my question to her is: so let's say someone runs to you for a commission work and say, okay, draw me a commission of my clone or your clone. How do you start? What do you what goes into the artwork? What are the elements that you put into the artwork? And what's the process like from the first artwork to the final artwork?
Sure. So, ゆかさん、ビートル来たのは、やはりコミッションが欲しいなら、欲しい方なら、どうやって、どうやって始まるっていうか、どうやって、リクエストすることができますでしょうか？
以前はですね、DM で、受付してたんですけども、ちょっと、ありがたいことに数が多すぎて、ちょっと今は締め切ってしまっているので、新規のホルダーさん向けのコミッションはちょっと、なんていうんでしょう。受付を一時的に中止しているんですよ。
はい。
はい。
で、さっきゆかも言ったけど、とりあえず3枚同時に作ってますよね。だから、
そうです。
で、ちゃんと、たとえ待ってたら、やっと順番が来たら、その人は、DM とかで、会話っていうか、フィードバックとかやってますよね。
そうです、そうです。DM で、そうです、そうです。TwitterDM でやり取りしてて、で、待ってくださってる方を、スプレッドシートに書いてるんですね。いつ依頼してくれて、これが誰で何を書くとかいうのを書いてあるリストがあって、その順番に DM でどんどん声をかけていくみたいな感じですね。
わかりました。ありがとうございます。So, obviously, as we kind of touched on a little bit earlier, her wait list is huge right now. Obviously, if you want to get a commission through her, the best method is to reach out via Twitter DM. That's also, how she's keeping in touch with the people that she does actually, for the commissions that she's actively working on. So like we mentioned earlier, she's usually working on about 3 at a time. And through the process, she's always communicating with them and getting their feedback over Twitter. So specifically through DMs. So obviously, if you want to get on the wait list, you should DM Yuka. But yeah, expect for for there to be a bit of a wait because she's a very in demand artist from 2 really huge blue chip communities. So.
Yeah, I mean, so now if anyone wants to get on her list, you know what to do. Question is, I think this is one of the last few questions. If anyone wants to come on stage to ask Yuka anything, feel free to. So Denjin, do help me speak in Jap also. If any of the Jap listeners want to come on stage, feel free to come aboard.
Oh, definitely, yeah. そうですね。ビート言ったのは、もし誰か、ゆうかさんに自由に質問が聞きたかったら、ぜひ、なんていうスピーカーをリクエストしてくださいって。
ぜひ何かご質問があればお願いします。
はい。英語でも日本語でも。残念ながら僕の専門は日本語じゃないんですけど、頑張ります。
いや、もうあり
お間違
がとうございます。
いあれば許してください。
いや、バッチリです。完璧です。本当にありがとうございます。
頑張ってます。ありがとうございます。
Yeah, so I do have a couple more questions to ask. So one thing is, recently I've been seeing a lot of people, including myself, try AI art and draw quite a lot of Japanese style art, right? And that's Niji Journey, right? So I just wanted to ask Yuka, what are her thoughts on AI art? Does she use it? Does she feel like it's eating into the space? How does she feel towards AI art?
そうですね。ゆうかさんは多分分かったんですけど、ビートさん来たのはなんか AI としてはなんかどういう気分ですか？なんか好きか使っていますかとか、アーティストたちのなんか仕事がやばいと思っていますか？どんな気分ですか？
そうですね。なんか、AI アート、私結構実は見るの好きで、クローンコミュニティにも、あずきコミュニティにも、すごい AI アート、すごい素敵なファンアート描く方がたくさんいらっしゃるので、私も見てるんですけど、あの、AI アートすごいあんなに綺麗にするには、すごい、なんていうんでしょう、ディレクション力とか、その指示をするのがすごく上手じゃないとできないと思うんですよね。センスも必要だし。だから、すごい絵を描くのとまた違う特別な能力だから、すごいなと思って見てますね。で、私自身もその AI は、そのポーズのアイディアとか、色のアイディアはいろいろ試すんですけども、なんかね、指示を出すのがすごい下手くそで、なんかあんまりいいのができなくてですね、なんかなんて言うんでしょう、思った通りのものは出ないんですけど、例えば今までだったら、書いてみたものの、良くなかったなでやり直すことも結構あったんですけど、でも AI だと、AI だとそれを事前に、これダメだなとかいうのもわかるので、なんかすごいそれを書き直す労力がすごい減ったりもするので、なんかそうやって、なんていうんですかね、うまくお付き合いしていけたらなとは思っていますね。はい。
ありがとうございます。わかりま
はい。
した。So, obviously with AI and the boom that's happened with it, she actually really enjoys looking at it, especially from works that are coming in from the CloneX and the Azuki communities. She's really in awe of the amount of talent and really amazing artworks, even in AI, that are coming out from both the communities. And for her as an artist, it's really easy for her to tell, obviously, when AI is done well or poorly, right? Like she can really easily spot, like, oh, this is done with AI. So she actually really respects people that can manage to get AI to look realistic or look maybe not quite like AI. Cause she's tested it out herself, even just with different poses and things like that. And she has run into trouble herself just trying to get it to come out the way that she envisions. So, it's AI, if you've never used it, can be difficult to art direct. So, for her too, it's just one of those things where it's been a bit troublesome to try and get it to kind of match up with what she's envisioning in her mind. So that's why she, I think, primarily likes to continue to just keep drawing and making art herself manually. Versus going with AI art.
So let's say I'm a new artist and I want to okay, I think Yuka's work is amazing. I want to learn how to draw like Yuka. How can I do it? Where would she recommend me to start?
So you want to be doing manual art though, not AI art, right?
Yeah, so like
Yeah.
manual.
そうですね。ビート来たのはゆうかさんのおすすめを聞きたい。なんか例え今なんかいろんな AI アーツ作ってるんですけど、彼は本当になんていう、リアルアートとかなんかトラディショナルアートが始まりたかったら、なんかおすすめとか、なんかどうやって始まるっておすすめありますか？
AI のソフトですか？それかアーティスト
AI ではなく、もっとなんか、トラディショナルアート、例えば鉛筆とか、フォトショップとか、もちろんなんかアーティストとしてはね、いろんなやり方があるんですけど、ビートルさんはなんか本当にアートに始まったばっかりだから多分あまり知らないから、なんかもしなんかゆかさんがなんかおすすめあれば、なんかどうやってなんかアーティストになるんでしょうか？
どうしよう。でも、何がいいでしょうね。iPad とか持ってはったら、iPad でこう、ファーって書けたりするのかな。何がいいんでしょうね。
でも、僕もそれはいいですね。やっぱり、本当にアーティストとしては、なんかいろんなソフトあるし、なんかいろんなアーティスト、なんかやり方とか ね、マテリアルもあるんだから、でも、確かなんか iPad はなんとなく、まあ簡単っていうか、なんて言うんだろうね。便利な始まりかな。なんかたとえソフトでなんか安くて買えるし、なんかその鉛筆みたいなやつが使えるし、まあいろんなスタイルできますよね。なんかプロクリエイトとか。ゆかさんとしては今プロクリエイトとかやってますか？
私今 iPad 進めといてなんですけど、私パソコンでWindows で Photoshop なんですよ。
ワコムタブレットですよね。
ワコムタブレットで、そうなんですよ。
はい。わかりました。いや、でもほぼ一緒ですね。やっぱり、なんていう、レベルアップするとどんどんあれになるんじゃないですかね。だから、OK。ありがとうございます。
はい。
So, Beetle, obviously, there's a bunch of different avenues you could take. I mean, because being an artist, there's a bunch of, different kinds of art and mediums you could use and things like that too. But she's, for her, she's primarily using a tablet on Windows. So she thinks as for like a first-time artist, it wouldn't be hopefully too difficult to start off on like an iPad with like an Apple Pencil. Obviously with the iPad, you can get, software a bit cheaper, and it's still a really powerful portable device. And you can still actually draw as if you were drawing with a pencil or a pen on things like Procreate and things like that. So that's kind of a good starting point. And then particularly as it pertains to like if you want to start with digital art, like obviously there's a bunch of different traditional methods you could learn, like, drawing with pencils or colored pencils or watercolor or charcoals or oil paints. There's a lot, right? So to kind of just whittle it down to something that's simple and maybe easy to get up on the internet and digital and things like that, an iPad would be probably her first step.
Cool. And yeah, so as we are ending the space, I'll just finish up with a bit of music and one of my last questions, which is one of the things I'm looking forward most to a lot in Artifact ecosystem is Animus, and I guess everyone on stage below is also looking forward to Animus. And when Animus comes out, I think that comes with a lot of composition materials that hopefully all of us will be getting different artists to help us to commission artworks. Putting your clones beside the Animus is something that is so exciting that all of us can just work on as well. So I wanted to ask Yuka, so with the different Animus that was previewed, is there any particular favorites of hers?
Definitely. そうですね。これからやはりアニムスが出るとみんなすごいなんて喜びじゃなくて楽しみにしてるから、まあ多分いろんなコミッションも来るんじゃないですかね。クローネックスとアズキみたいにアニムスのやつで、ユーカさんにとってはなんか一番好きな、まだ全部見せ出してないからちょっと難しいけど、一番好きなアニムスとかあるんでしょうかね。
なんかでもほとんどまだ出てないですもんね。
ね。
どれがいいんだろう。でもなんていうんですか、一番最初に出てきた耳が長い子めっちゃ可愛くないですか？
可愛いですね。なんか
紫の。
ね、なんて言うんだろうね。なんかまあデビルっていうかウサギとかなんかいろいろ混ぜてますよね。
ねえ、あの子欲しいぐらいですよね。もらえないと思うけど。
可愛いですね。
ね。
So yeah, obviously we haven't seen a whole bunch of the Animus yet, but of the ones that we've been able to see so far, she really likes the first one that was introduced. It's like short and has like the really long, sort of devil horny kind of ears or horns.
Coda.
What's it called?
The coda. I mean, some of us call it the coda.
Oh yeah,
coda, right?
it does kind of have that. The other side coda vibes. Because I don't think we've gotten a name for the character yet, right? Like we're still kind of in the dark on that.
How some of us call it the coda.
Yeah, it also kind of reminds me in like a way of. Has anyone ever seen Donnie Darko? That movie Donnie Darko. It's like it was like who was in that? I'm drawing a blank on his name, but anyway, it was kind of popular early on, and it has like this like weird rabbit character that's got like. There's a costume he wears that has these kind of like weird wavy ears and stuff like that. That kind of has those vibes. Maybe not quite as creepy. Jake Gyllenhaal. That's the guy I was trying to think of. He's in that movie. It was like one of his first big movies. But yeah, she thinks that that character, whatever we're calling it, is like super cute, and she really wants that. She wants that particular animus. Like if she can get that, she'd be really happy.
Well, I wish her all her luck in getting that. Like, we've come up with quite a few nicknames for some of those. Like, there's Umbreon looking one at the bottom corner, right? And then there's a wolf one that Marcus Moirix calls it the Garurumon, if you guys get the Digimon reference. And then there's also the one right on top, which is like Angelmon itself, right? You know, when Patamon evolves into Angelmon. So I think it's quite exciting to see this Digimon, Pokemon kind of characters come alive and for all of us to collect.
Definitely. そうですね。ビートさんはまあなんて言うんだろうね。やはり名前がないからいろんなニックネームを掲げてるこういうキャラたちのために、例えなんかウルフのやつがデジモンのガルルモン、なんか日本語でも同じ名前かわかんない、よく変わってるけど、なんかガルルモンっていうやつもあるんで、なんかそのニックネームを使ってるとか。
勝手につけてはるんですか？
はい。
かわいい。
で、僕はちょっと言ったのは、なんだ、このかわいい長い耳か角のやつが、なんかドニ・ダールコっていう映画をちょっと思い出す、全然違う雰囲気だけど、ジェイク・ジルンホっていう、なんか有名な、なんだ、アクターが行ったんで、なんかその、なんだろう、コスチューム、コスプレみたいなやつが、なんかちょっぴり耳とか角がああいう雰囲気だけど、まあとにかくやっぱり名前がないからみんななんか自分としてはなんかニックネームとか考えてますみたいで
かわいいです。楽しみですよね。
はい、本当に楽しみです。あ、そうだ、あとそう一つ言ったのはOther Side のコーダってご存知ですかね？コーダっていうやつ。
そうだ。
コーダ、KODA。なんかOther Side はなんかBAYC のボーデープスのなんかランドでなんかたまにランドについてるコーダっていうキャラがあるんだけど、そのコーダがちょっとなんだ耳長いのキャラと似てるんだけど、それもそういう名前もつけてるし、ニックネームつけてるし。
なんかそのリストなんかいつか公開してほしいですよね。なんかビートルさんの。
So yeah, Beetle, you should publish. I think I saw some tweets from you, but you should publish your list of nicknames for all these characters, so YUKA can dig into it and read, and everyone can kind of read it and see what we're calling these things.
That'll be quite fun, right? Coming up with nicknames for all these characters. Yeah. So I don't think we have anyone who has any questions from below the stage. So I'd like to take this chance to thank YUKA for what she's for her time today, and as well as for drawing all this art for both communities. I think it's really amazing, like I said, how her art can unite communities and bring people together, right? Over a like it's no longer just about PFPs, but just appreciation of the art form itself. So help me thank YUKA for what she's done, and I think it's really amazing, and I hope to see more of her work.
そうですね、ビットさん言ったのは、やはりゆかさん本当にありがたいです。このスペースのなんていう参加したし、あともちろんなんかあずきのコミュニティとコロネックスコミュニティをサポートしてるし、なんかゆかさんのアートでこのコミュニティを、なんていうんだろう、ユナイトしてるし、本当に、ありがたいです。
いやこちらこそです。ありがとうございます。すごい緊張してるんですけど、ありがとうございます。このような機会をいただいて。
ありがとうございます。全然気にしないです。本当に良かったです。僕もすごい良かったです。So she's really thankful, obviously, Vito, and she said she's very nervous, but she's really happy to hear that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and thank you so much, Denjin, for helping us with the translation work today. Martin's internet had some issues, so he couldn't host all the questions he wanted to ask. But we've been communicating behind, and I've asked some of the questions he has also. So hopefully we managed to make you comfortable with our first spaces. And really, thank you so much, Denjin, for helping us with this.
No problem. Thanks for having me. And I also want to thank Yuka as well. I really appreciate her as an artist and an amazing community member, and you know, I've been inspired by her artwork for a long time as well. And I'm really bummed that Martin didn't get to all of his questions. I hope that, I don't know, it's weird when you guys are in the same location. His connection was so bad, but you know, hopefully next time, you know, no problems. But appreciate you guys having me up again and having me on my own space as well. So thank you guys.
Thank you. And with that, we'll call this space a good night. And I'll just let the music play as we tune out. Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Yuka.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.